Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 95 of the Citrix Session. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. I've got Bill Sutton, Director of Services, with me today. Bill, how's it going?
Going very well, Andy. How about you?
It's good. I appreciate you jumping on. I just wrapped up a homeowners association impromptu meeting. I somehow found myself on the board, and I'm not. I don't have the time, and I'm not overly qualified, but got to get involved. So
sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's a crazy one too. I won't go into detail here, but there's a lot going on in that community.
Oh, is that right? Oh, well.
It's not all that unlike Citrix, for example. It's an older community that added additional pods of buildings and people along the way. So like Citrix versus others, it's got a legacy that has to be brought forward, as well as aligning to modern day needs. We've watched Citrix go from legacy Citrix to evolved Citrix. In other words, as a service, SASE, networking products. Some come, some go. Some ideas stick, some don't. Citrix is in an interesting position. It's got a very valuable legacy in this space. In fact, everything in the EUC virtual delivery world is kind of based on what Citrix did over the last 30 years. At the same time, you can show up tomorrow with a brand new product that doesn't have all the baggage, and you can take over and win some opportunities because you don't have all the baggage.
Yeah, exactly. We see a lot of these smaller startup types and newer companies that are in this space that kind of comparing themselves and contrasting themselves with Citrix. It's kind of the old gold standard in some ways, but they all have their own secret sauce or purport to have their secret sauce. But it's interesting how they all, or many of them anyways, compare themselves to the Citrix environment.
Yeah, you do what Citrix can do or has done. Are you missing a feature? In some cases, things that Citrix had to code from the ground up can now be done through WebRTC, and you go from I don't have that feature to I have that feature overnight, and
Yep.
You didn't have to invent it. You just had to make it emulate what others have done. It's an interesting spot for them to be. I guess it's not so much unlike the I guess stay with me here, but the American automakers, took the idea of the automobile from Europe, but then they turned around and created the assembly line and the process to make it better. And then now the rest of the world has improved upon that, both the quality of the products, potentially, depending on how you look at it,
Right.
as well as the process. And they, moved to, let's say, the southern states of the United States without a union to worry about. And they eat the American automakers' lunch.
That's a good analogy. I mean, another one might be the disruptive influence of companies like Uber and Lyft on the taxi industry, doing it differently, the same basic thing, but doing it differently and more modern, but basing it on an old concept.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't reinvent the wheel. They just made it better. They put rubber on it and made pneumatic tires, and there you go. Now they're
Exactly. Yeah.
Now they're the ones that have the chance to make the money, while the dinosaurs, and I don't mean Citrix dinosaur by any means, but
No.
the people that invented the space had to figure out how to retool. And sometimes retooling's hard. I mean, you saw Citrix with the major layoffs, which happens every so often. You saw them have to lay off areas of the business that the others may or may not even have to have.
Exactly. And to your point about dinosaur, Citrix has continued, as we've brought up on these calls frequently, to innovate. They've continued to innovate over the years and make their product better, and are able to compete with a lot of these organizations. It's just interesting to see how many of them kind of try. It's kind of the old days, the old early days of VDI and Citrix and VMware. It was like every 3 months they tried to one up one another. I'd have this feature, the other one would catch up and go a little higher, then the other one catch up and go a little higher. And now we're seeing this, I think, with startups and smaller companies that are trying to do the same kind of thing.
On that topic, here's how I see that. I mean, Citrix had the product. VMware came out with the product. Citrix had way more features, including their own protocol. And then VMware over the time would they would have their own portion of the same thing, and they would even one up them.
Right.
And Citrix would have to then, and that's at the end of the day, that in the world of virtual app and desktop versus Horizon, and then Workspace versus Workspace ONE, that's actually been good for the consumer because
Absolutely.
nobody got to rest on their laurels. And then at the same time, you have the work spots of the world, maybe the cameos of the world that have all popped up, and Microsoft AVD of the world that have popped up and now challenging. It's gotten to be a crowded space again. It's kind of like the United States in terms of automotive options. I used to go to in North Carolina, you used to see nothing but Ford, Chevy, Dodge, whatever. And then now you probably see more foreign cars than you see American made products. But you would go to somewhere in Detroit, you would see only American made products still. And now you go there and you see a lot of foreign products as well. It's, you can only stay on top of the hill for so long. You have to continue to evolve. And Citrix is definitely doing that. And that's what we're going to cover today.
That's right. Good segue.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's new with Citrix Workspace, and I'll stop and highlight the word workspace for a moment. But what's Workspace October 2021? Let's try to define workspace real quick. So that's where Citrix takes most of their product set and brings it together under one moniker, I guess maybe. But the word workspace and workspace can mean all kinds of things, but it's really the grouping of all the EUC stuff Citrix does under one marketable word that brings in lots of things like the workspace service, the workspace bundle, the workspace app, workspace with intelligence. All these things get bundled up under the word workspace, and we'll try to decipher in this conversation exactly what is getting an upgrade or a facelift or an addition.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. Talks about the three main pillars of workspace: embracing secure distributed work, boosting worker productivity, and accelerating IT modernization. That's kind of how the first paragraph starts. And I think that's a good way to sum up the workspace piece. And then, the transformation, which during the pandemic, we've seen acceleration of the transformation, and people that were putting it off have now had to accelerate their transformation, or they doubled down on legacy things like VMs and specifically VPNs.
Yeah, we saw a lot of VPNs when the pandemic first came to light. A lot of folks trying to scramble and do that, but we had equally as many probably that started embracing remote work via things like Citrix.
Do you think that's true though? Do you think we, as the guys that do what we do, we probably didn't see the VPN guys that just doubled down on that bad strategy, but we did see the guys that already had an inkling of how to solve this through a smarter delivered solution?
Yeah, I think you're right. I guess from my perspective, I have a lot, where I live, there are a lot of, not a lot, but there's several large employers, and those are the ones where I was surprised to see they were many of them were embracing VPN technology versus a remote work type solution like Citrix. And I was a little surprised in some ways to see that. Part of that was culture, but part of it was technology.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of it is where their culture was at the time of the pandemic, and whether they doubled down on what they were doing before, or whether they looked at a new way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. So the first one here talks about content collaboration, which many of us older guys know as ShareFile and workflows. Thoughts on what Citrix has done to maintain relevance in a world where people pretty much get, I'll say for free, but entitlements of like OneDrive and other products that simply just can show up in the solution at any point in time?
Yeah, I think what this is highlighting in fundamentally is number one, that they've got another industry kudo in the IDC MarketScape. They've been identified as basically a major player in the e-signature realm. And then the other thing, in terms of improvements to the product, malware is on everyone's mind today. I know where I live in Virginia, the state government was hit by a malware attack a couple days ago, the legislative branch anyway. So malware is on everybody's mind these days, ransomware, et cetera. And they're including malware detection as part of the offering for ShareFile content collaboration. So you upload a file to ShareFile, it's scanned, and if it's malware is identified, it's isolated and cannot be downloaded or shared. So that's the big feature and enhancement that's come out in October.
So Bill, from your perspective, if I'm storing my data in a cloud service for files. I'm specifically talking about files here.
Yep.
By default, even without additional threat protection scanning, is it somewhat or completely safe from ransomware types of locking down of those files by default, since it's coming from as a service versus a network file share?
Well, I think at rest, I think the answer is definitely yes. But I think the issue is when I pull that Excel spreadsheet or what have you down to my local machine, or I open it on my local machine and my machine's infected by malware, that document could effectively be infected. And then when I upload it back or save it back to a share file or other online storage, it would be scanned and identified as a problem. Or someone gives me a file and I upload it to share file, or a customer uploads a file to share file. I know that it's going to be clean, or at least have a reasonable expectation it'll be clean before I download it.
Yeah. So my question is really two-part. One, the idea of storing my files in something as a service automatically gives me a degree of protection I didn't have before, and the idea that it's safe and secure. And then what Citrix is announcing, what they're announcing here is that when you put it up there, it's going to get scanned somewhere in the process, either on the way or at rest or both, you tell me. And that adds a degree of security and a degree of being assured that your data is safe because you're using this as a service.
Exactly. I think it's both at rest and when it's probably mostly once it reaches them. So maybe not in transit, but once it lands on their environment, it's scanned before it's released or allowed to be downloaded.
Yeah.
Probably pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. It goes back to, the old way VPN, the old way file servers. That stuff's such a big footprint and exploitable that people have figured out ways to do that. And most importantly, and this is where I'm a big fan of talking about, is make money because of digital currency. They can now quickly and easily make money, or digital money at least, off people by attacking, not just for being nefarious anymore. It's about making money. And that's why you've seen such a huge uptick in this world of ransomware, malware attacks.
Yeah, most of them, like you said, they ask for payment in some sort of cryptocurrency. Because it's one of the biggest reasons is they could remain anonymous or nearly anonymous.
Yeah. All right. The next section in this blog talks about accelerate workforce agility with Citrix App Builder and micro apps. Is this something that you've had a chance to research or know much about?
I've read about it here and then a couple of other places, and this is basically they've been talking about this for a while. This Workspace App Builder. Which is really designed to help customers be able to build workspace micro apps using low code or no code. I think Citrix says in this article, no code. I haven't actually worked with it myself. I was looking to see if it was in my lab environment, and I didn't see it there. I haven't looked in our lab environment yet, but I think the idea is that it makes it simpler to build micro apps and integrate them with your systems of record, without having to do a lot of coding, if any.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about this either, but I know the promise was exactly like you just said, to be able to create micro apps that can tie into your world and bring productivity to your users quicker without having to engage a third party to code it. Micro apps is really the idea. You take a SaaS-based application and bring it into your Citrix Workspace as an application that's integrated beyond just one-click availability. It's single sign-on. It's tied into APIs of your other systems of record. Is that true?
That's true. Yep.
Yeah.
They've also added some, if you scroll down a little bit, they've added some new micro app integrations, the ability to upload files into your system of record. I was kind of surprised that wasn't there before, but maybe it was in certain micro apps. But the app builder will now allow you to do that, to configure for that, as well as the other two that are there.
Yeah, so let's maybe recap for people what life was like without the app builder. And that is, you either through the catalog Citrix provided had a micro app available ready to go, or you engaged a third party to code one for you. And in this case, what Citrix is really announcing is the ability to take a stab at creating your own without that third party needed to tie it all together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think for our listeners, it's really a matter of being able to take an application and tie it into APIs that are available to deliver real-time data into that application. And that's what the tool is providing the novice or the average sysadmin with the ability to take a swing at doing.
Yeah, it's interesting. The app builder, I just found it and clicked on it. It's powered by Podio.
Well, I'm a big fan of Podio. There's lots of things Podio can do. And I think in the long run, the value of that product and Citrix buying it 10 years ago is going to show up either because of what it could do or what it's been evolved to do.
Yes, exactly. I agree.
All right. This next little section talks about COVID-19 self-certify integration. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I think what they've done is created a micro app. If I read this correctly, or they've created a set of steps that you can build a micro app that will allow for your employees to self-certify that they are COVID free, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there was a race condition, and I got caught up in a couple of people who wanted to do this to create a system of record for vaccine status, testing results, that kind of stuff. And it looks like Citrix has created a way to bring that into Workspace for its customers that have that need, which is probably most of them.
Yeah, exactly. And I apologize for the background noise. Of course, as soon as we get on the podcast, my yard guy shows up.
Yeah. Well, as a guy that's raked leaves for 5 weeks in a row, I don't know. I'm probably envious. All right. The next section talks about Citrix analytics for security and tying that into this massive portfolio or product set of Splunk that allows you to aggregate all this into one place and dissect it. I have to assume there's a lot of Citrix customers out there that have Splunk as a primary SIM type of thing for their security operations center.
Exactly. Yeah, I think here what they're talking about is the ability to get that data from analytics for security into Splunk and then cross-reference or correlate it with other security-oriented data so the SOC teams have visibility into the whole picture.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to my family, especially my college-age son the other day, the analytics piece and how that's the future and being able to ingest that and make something of it that the average person can understand either through a picture or a report. There's tons of value in that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, that's a whole new industry, the whole data analytics and computational modeling. And, some of it's been around for a while, but the prevalence of data in platforms like analytics for security and Splunk and so forth, beyond that, is really making that a whole nother industry or career is data analysis and data science. It's pretty amazing.
Well, and the marketing term I used for them, which I think applies here, is data-driven business, whether it's on the security side or the financial side or
exactly
HR side, you name it. It's you can't just run it from your gut anymore. You can, but you really need data to back those moves up.
Exactly. So
the next piece of this part of the conversation around security analytics and getting more out of that is the Access Assurance Dashboard, which is a visual that is available as part of your service, Workspace service, that allows you to see where requests and things are coming from worldwide, which for international and maybe just even national organizations, a quick visual on where these requests are coming from can't hurt and provides you with some assurance of where your people are working from or where requests are coming from that aren't your people.
Yeah, it basically shows you a heat map here, as you can see in the picture, to identify where the logins are coming from and if there's any anomalies.
Yeah. Yeah, these are things that we've wanted for a long time. And again, having things as a service, or at least aggregators of things, provide this data and analytics that can now be put into visual representations that, you're not digging through login files or event viewer files like we did in the past to try to figure out what's happening, and you can quickly and easily consume that.
Yes.
Optimize work with Citrix Virtual App and Desktop Service. This is, let's say Virtual App and Desktop is the granddaddy of Citrix, and specifically Virtual App and Desktop Service is when we make that a consumable product through the platform Citrix offers online, starting with service continuity as one of the pieces they're highlighting here.
Yeah, I mean, service continuity is kind of what it implies, and that is with the service, the ability to maintain connectivity in the event of a cloud outage, and it's now available on Linux endpoints at Chrome and Edge using a browser. It was historically, and it still is available in the Workspace app, but the ability to do it using the Workspace for Web through certain browsers is now added in here.
I think this really talks about other Workspace apps and browsers, service continuity, so that when, and I'm going to be more specific here, Citrix Cloud, the platform as a service, isn't available to broker connections, you've got some degree of cached information that allows it still to go and try to get to where it was directed to last time. Yeah,
the information is stored on the endpoint. So in this case, this add-in to the Chrome and Edge browsers, as well as the Workspace app, it stores the files that are needed for access there.
Yeah. Next piece says increased data retention inside of Citrix Director. So I think this is where Citrix is giving its customers a little bit of let's just say additional data trending, where by default it was 90 days. Now it's going up to 365 days. So you at least get a 365-day view of what's in Citrix Director.
Yeah, exactly. The retention rate is just now a year instead of 3 months.
Now, is that for all different product versions? It doesn't really say here, but it reads as if it's for everything.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's under the category of the service, but it could be everything. I don't know. We'll have to look into that one.
Yeah, and I think for our listeners, what I would point out is that we are talking about Director as a service, which is part of Virtual App and Desktop as a service, which can be part of Workspace as a service.
Yeah.
And in the past, when you had the on-premises version, you could store as much as your license entitled you to, and as much data retention as you want to have. This is the as a service piece that allows you to have 365 up from 90 days.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, back in the on-premises days, and it may still be the case, like you said, it depended on the license that they had as to how much retention you were able to keep.
Next part, automated configuration tool. Recent update allows you to take the MCS data from on-premises. It says on-prem here. I'm using this moment to point out to the world, the word is not on-prem, it's on-premises, to cloud, reducing migration times, I guess, for people going from the on-premises perpetual license world to as a service. This speeds up some of their deployment time.
Yeah, exactly. This is just about being able to get those catalogs moved quickly. We actually are in the process, or soon we'll be using this for a large customer to get their catalogs migrated to the cloud. When you think about it, those catalogs are typically tied to a hypervisor connection, a hosting connection, and being able to do that easily and quickly, particularly if you have a large number of delivery groups or a large number of machine catalogs, rather, being able to do that in an automated way is huge.
Yeah. And then the final bullet here, restart scheduling in Citrix Studio. Honestly, I thought this was already in Studio as part of the service, but I guess not. And so now your ability to drive through the UI to set these restart policies is now in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think you're right. I think that has been in there. I think all they're doing is refining it and allowing for certain custom times and dates. I think I'd have to go back and look at it myself, but I think initially it was based on selectable dates and times, or maybe times like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, but not custom times. So I think they're just refining it a little bit, making it a little bit more customizable than perhaps in the past. That's just kind of a educated guess, I suppose.
No, I think you're right. I think I just overlooked the word custom when I was reading through this earlier. And you're right. You can be more granularly define what's happening for your restart policies.
Exactly. Yeah.
They have the next paragraph here, which talks about even more things that are listed in a different article. We won't jump into those now, but again, kudos to Citrix for continuing to evolve their entire workspace portfolio, but specifically things as a service so that it not only has what the on-premises piece has, but also has additional features and functionalities. They've promised all along that the as a service pieces of their business would lead the way going forward, not be not just react to what was available before.
Yes, exactly. They have continued to innovate and as you said, evolve the technology and evolve the feature set. And obviously the service gets those features first, and then they make their way to the on-premises version.
Yeah. This next piece talks about Citrix now doing what most companies are doing or should do, which is providing roadmap. So it's not just us reviewing things that have come out, it's us seeing what is coming out. And I think as things continue to progress as fast as they must in this day and age, I think it's good for companies like Citrix to open up this view to its customers and potential customers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we used to get this information in special briefings where we were sworn to secrecy, and it's nice to see the transparency in putting this out there now for customers to consume and ask questions about.
Yeah, I really think they have to, because there's so many other players in the space now that are making strides to catch up with things that Citrix has done. Not all of them by any means. And I'll make my statement here. When I go to do a project, Citrix and maybe one other are ones that I think I can go and have a large likelihood to be successful with, and not get a third of the way through the project and find out there's a feature that's missing that the customer finds incredibly important. That's why we're still big Citrix partners and continue to be, and will continue to be.
Yeah, exactly.
One other quick announcement here is the recap for the Citrix Launchpad series they ran. Whether it's personalize your work, work your way, Microsoft Teams, modernize workflows, Wrike integrations with ShareFile and Podio and Write Signature, and Citrix Analytics add for Splunk. All those things are things you can catch up through the Citrix Launchpad tool.
Yeah, that's a series. Pretty, and actually, it's pretty good. I watched a couple of them, and they were actually really good, I thought.
Yeah, Citrix does a good job of delivering content out to their partners and customers, which is something that should be applauded.
Agreed.
Well, Bill, that gets us to the end of this one. I appreciate you joining. I know you got a busy day just like I do, and taking time to do this and share through this medium, including what is now happening where we're posting a lot of this on our YouTube channel. So there's two ways to consume, either through the podcast mechanisms or through our YouTube channel, this XenTegra YouTube channel. But appreciate you joining, and we'll look forward to doing this again, and we'll get the rest of the group together. We'll try to get back to our Monday schedules. We're recording this on a Wednesday, which kind of threw people for a loop.
Yeah. I enjoyed, Andy, so I appreciate you including me.
All right, sir. Well, look forward to seeing you, and I'm going to see you after the holidays in Nashville. We're doing our company sales kickoff, and going to have a little fun. And so look forward to seeing the rest of the group.
Yeah, should be fun.
All right. With that, we'll let you go. Thanks for joining.
All right. Thanks.